Hello and welcome to PoE For Dummies, Conquerors. Conquerors are yet again, like Shaper and Elder Guardians, sort of like Guardians of the Maps. They are basically the Conquerors of the maps from before in one of the expansions in Path of Exile, which basically culminates with their boss being Cirrus. Now, I won't talk about Cirrus in this video, but I will talk and cover the Conquerors that we have, including their mechanics, fragments, and the items that they drop. So in total, like with the other Guardians, there are 4 maps. There's Baran, there's Veritania, there's Al-Hezmin, and Drox. I will do them in order according to the wiki website, but here is the page. On this page, you can see what is written about them, some of their damage and so on, like Hezmin being fully chaos, Baran lightning, Drox is physical, and Veritania being cold. Cirrus has them all, but here Cirrus is the boss, and the mechanics. But main thing is to be able to drop these maps. As for the maps themselves, or for Atlas passes themselves, you need to have Conquered Conquerors in top right corner. Map bosses have 30% increased chance to drop a Conqueror map. Now, without this node, they do seem to drop once in never, but this will substantially increase the chance of you dropping the actual maps from the actual Conqueror maps from map bosses. So there's also monster packs that's relevant for the maps themselves. The other thing is these maps, similar to Elder maps, have different layouts. You can get different maps for different conquerors. So as an example, Veritania, Reef, Wharf, and this one is Mud Geyser. So that's one thing. They all drop their own fragments that are sitting neatly in the top middle part, Veritania, Drox, Baran, and Al-Hezmin, and they all drop their unique currencies, which currently I do not own, but they sit in currency tab in exotic in top right corner. Each orb represents a conqueror, with the last one representing Cirrus. So there's 4 orbs for 4 conquerors, and Cirrus's orb is Orb of Awakening. This is Orb of Dominance, that's for Elder, Shaper, Maven, and so on. But what do those orbs do? When you apply that orb on a non-influenced item, rare item, it gives the item the influence of the conqueror, and it also acts as an exalted orb, which in turn basically adds a modifier on the item. The caveat is it acts as a conqueror exalted orb, which adds their own modifier to the item. I will show you some of the modifiers that could be found. Let's choose two-handed weapon bows. It's fine. When you scroll down PoE DB, the Shaper and Elder cannot be added. They have to be rolled, but Crusader, Redeemer, Hunter, and Warlord can be added via orbs. So let's say you want to do a Crusader orb. You would do a Crusader orb. There's a prefix, there's the suffix. You roll the item, you leave one slot open, whichever one you want, prefix, suffix, right-click the item the same way as the Exalted Orb, pray to God, Chris Wilson, that you get a good roll, and you click an item, and then you get the influence, and that's it. This can only be done on non-influenced items. It cannot be done on influenced items, or maybe it can. If they've changed it, I haven't used that in a while. Let's check it. Redeemer Exalted Orb, Redeemer Influence, and a new Redeemer modifier. Cannot be used on already influenced items. Okay, it cannot. Synthesized, Fractured, or Eldritch Implicit modifier. So if you have modified an item in any of those ways, it cannot be used. To get double influences, you have to use an Awakener Orb, basically, to sacrifice one item and the other and then combine them. Anyways, enough dawdling, time to go into Al-Hezmin. Al-Hezmin is the first one of the 4. He is basically a snake man, and he does mostly chaos damage. All of these encounters are simple. They don't kill the map bosses, so you can do map boss encounter mechanics and so on, whichever ones you'd like. But on a map, if there is a unique boss modifier that will be applied to the Conquerors, with some rare occasions that I'm unsure about, but it could have happened. I usually avoid these mods, that's why I'm not sure about them. Is monster modifiers also apply to Conquerors, so be very warned, be careful. One more thing before Hezmin, sorry. There's one more thing for implicit modifiers. Item quantity increases amount of rewards. Baran, Conqueror, drops by 20% of its value. You want to juice these maps in general. These maps are more expensive. They're between 30 and 50 chaos, depending on the layout, depending on the bosses, and so on. And you want to juice them because they drop awakened gems. More on that after Hezmin. So Hezmin is a poison boss. Here is how he looks. Let's see. There we go. So you enter after killing a boss in a map. This is all, I think, scoured map, so no modifiers. So you enter Hunter's Ambush. And you get greeted by a triangle, which is his boss arena. This boss arena has two mechanics by itself. It has, when he is in the middle, on the outer line, there are snakes. I'll show them. And inside there's Poison Pool. And when he's outside, the inside has snakes too. So he transforms and then does mechanics. So first things first, he does a melee attack, which is the snake. So the snake and stuff do the mechanics, not the possessed bodies. One more basic attack, another stab. Then there is this. When he says hold still, he basically shoots a projectile directed where you were. Just dodge it around him and that's it. When he moves here, he will start shooting projectiles. As you can see, like he moves, projectile, there's another bigger one. The middle part is getting covered by chaos damage with some snakes that fire projectiles. So he fires projectiles, snakes fire projectiles. Avoid this. Just move. You can move and DPS him. You don't have to DPS him. This is a timer run, basically. Mechanic, he will always try to run away, and basically he will deal damage while dashing. My character has a lot of block in regen, so that's why I'm not taking damage. Here you can see the debuff. I'm standing in the poison pool. That's basically the poison. He then repeats the mechanics, and this one, however, one second. This one, when he enters, when he pokes you and then does a slam, is so empowered version of the ability. So you just want to dodge it. Here I've shown what happens when you move up or on the sides. There are those snakes that deal poison damage, I think, and they basically bite. But those are all the mechanics for Al-Hezmin. Now, when you kill the boss always drops their fragment. That's basically it. By the way, this repeats as long as possible. It can drop the influenced items like the previous ones, and it can drop divine cards basically for Cortex and so on, like the other bosses. Now, the special things that can be dropped from these boss encounters are awakened skill gems. Now, I don't think they're written here, they are not, but awakened skill gems are skill gems that basically have an increased level of modifiers. As an example, there is a burning skill gem, which is, you can buy regular ones here. So let's say burning here, burning damage support. Supported skills deal more burning damage. And at one point, it's going to reach a cap. Let's say that cap is 50. I don't know exactly. But Awakened gives you additional 5 to 10% on that more damage. And at level 5, some of the Awakened gems give you extra levels. Let's see, Awakened Burning Damage Support PoE Wiki. Let's look at that. Awakened Burning Damage plus 0 to plus 1 to level of supported fire skill gems and 35 to 39 more burning damage. Okay, it wasn't 50. So at level 5, you get plus 1 to level of supported fire skill gems. Keep in mind, some guides on the internet will give you these as a regular POB, some won't. So buyer beware, these can be very, very expensive because they are stronger than their regular versions. Plus 1 to level of supported gems as well. Okay, next Conqueror is Baran, the Crusader. So first one was Hezmin, the Hunter. Next one, Baran, the Crusader. He does lightning damage, and his mechanics look like this. So you kill the map boss, you enter his own arena, which is basically a square with smaller squares on on the thing, and you will see each one of these has a symbol. You will see it's one of the mechanics, so it's 4x4. So you approach him, again, he gets possessed by the whatever it is, Crusader thingy majingy. So he does a melee attack. Whenever you are behind him, he turns, does 180 and melee attack. 180 melee attack. When you are in ranged, he throws his left hand. He shoots between 2, 5, or 8 of these little lightning circles. They deal damage when they hit you, and they deal damage when they explode. He has a mini dash, again, with a melee attack with his whatever that is, on the right hand. And then he has this. Face Your Destiny is the name of this mechanic. Face Your Destiny is when he pulls up his staff. It's a staff. When he pulls up his staff, he does the lightning damage on these. Like, he fills in the podium in a certain way. The actual exact way how he fills it is not important, but the start point is where you stood at the ending of the cast. So because I stood on him, that's where he begins. If you stood on the side, that's when he will do it again. Now, he does more of his repeated mechanics, and if you stand on these podiums, they deal lightning damage, they drain mana, and they drain your health. So it's a degen with mana drain. Be careful, mana users, it's not fun. Okay, then after a while, after he does repeat mechanics, he will dash faster and then channel a thing. When he does this atone thing, you can see the swirlies around him. Get away, he's gonna slam an AoE with his staff, with his staff spear, whatever. He's gonna slam it, and in directions, you will see these lightning bolts, mini lightning bolts will fire. Those deal damage if they touch you. That's it. He will then, again, repeat the mechanic, but this time is going to be called Faith Empowers. That will empower the more things down there. But then you ask, what if he fills the whole arena? He never does. Why? You stand on the empty ones. These other ones are active, but you have to dodge some of his mechanics, and then he did an AoE again, and then the previous ones will disappear and you will have more room. If you want to play it tactically, just play it from corner to corner. If not, just damage him and that's it. Those are all of his mechanics. Very, very simple boss fight, more like arena management than a boss fight of anything. Next one is Drox, the Warlord. This one is the physical one, and he basically has some mechanics that are AoE bound, the slams and whatnot. So let me just get to him. So his arena is basically an X, sort of. So Warlord's Keep, his arena is basically an X. You can go from one gate to another. From the other side, you don't have to. You can. I'll show you what I mean by that. So he transforms, and he also has melee attacks, which he is gonna do. Yeah, he is gonna do a melee attack from left hand. I think he has both hands. Yes, both hands. So that's a melee attack. Then he throws these. What are they called? Vexillum Immortalis, basically banners that give him a lot of damage reduction. And he throws them 3 each on every lane that he has. So he can only throw those banners where he doesn't have banners. If you destroy the other banners, which is a waste of time, he is basically going to cast it there. Unless he's in the last phase where he casts it on himself. But if you don't kill the banner, he is going to have a lot of damage reduction, so I suggest you kill it. So he does these repeated mechanics again, where he attacks you with his hands, he spawns ads, which is simple, and then he spawns more banners. But Unworthy basically is a mechanic where he tosses these like fists. They are coming on opposite lanes. One is on the left side, one is on the right side, but they're always opposite one to another until they combine, and then they just continue. So that's basically his fisting mechanic, the small fist. And at one point, at 2/3 of his health, he will go into this mode. I am the law. He is going to cover. He's going to get damage reduction, and adds are going to pop from both ends. The only thing you need to do here is kill ads and damage him, and that's basically it. And yeah, that's this filler type of thing mechanic. In this phase, you can also destroy banners and whatnot. He also has another melee attack, but not shown here. So this one was a regular slam. Oh, there it is. Hand of Justice. So when he says Hand of Justice, he's popping a hand right on where you were at the moment of the cast, and the hand goes up and then slams on the ground. So that's basically the end of these basic mechanics. And there's also this one, which is if you're standing in a lane, there's going to be sand shifting. Let me show it again. So there's going to be sand shifting from pillars. You will see it right about... No, this is a repeated. There we go. Sand shifting. When the sand calms down, drops down, there's going to be like fists going in the middle. I think I've dodged it. Yeah, or rocks, actually. They're rocks. And that's it. And he's just going to repeat the mechanics with one added one, which I hope he does, but I forgot, which he places 4 flags. There it is. He hops up, he places 4 flags. That's basically his last resort. And he gets a lot of energy shield and whatnot. Destroy these flags and he is done. So that's very simple. And the last but not least is Veritania, the Redeemer. This one proves to be the worst and the most difficult one for beginners because her whole tower is a zone in of itself. Let me show you what she does. She is a cold caster, and she's not that difficult once you understand her mechanics, but she is more difficult than the other ones when it comes to her room. Now, Redeemer's Eyrie is a tower. You can disable the rotating effects in interface options if you are bothered by that, like I am. And her encounter room is basically a big circle. Now, she enters her possessed form, whatnot. She has ranged attacks. She doesn't have melee attacks because she doesn't have arms. She has wings. So, right wing is an attack that's close to her. Left wing, another one, but it's wider in AoE. She does this swirly thing. When she does this tasteful, which is the swirly thing, run away from her because she's going to pop these small tornadoes, which deal cold damage. They have a chance to freeze and whatnot. There's always an empty room, or you can dash over them. Then she repeats her mechanics, and you can see the storm around the room. Be careful of that storm. The storm gets smaller as the time progresses, but it goes back up, back down, back up, back down. So it breathes. So don't worry, it will never engulf the whole arena. So she does her repeated mechanics, throws, and throws. Now, she will do loathsome or vile, and she will swoop around and then start shooting icicles towards you. And they are homing missiles. There's a lot of them. You can dodge around, you can dash, you can move away. In the second phase, she does them a little bit faster, but that's all in the same mechanic realm. Now, when she does revolting, or I think repugnant, if I'm not mistaken, she flies up in the air. She does a circle and then swoosh, flies away in a direction she was facing. Keep that in mind. In direction she was facing. She's facing where you stand in your direction. So pay attention. She is going to start the mechanic there. See? She's facing that way. I move away and she flies and puts ice on the ground. This deals damage as well and has a chance to freeze. Now, she's nowhere to be seen. What does it mean? It means she's going to slam dunk somewhere. What you want to do is you want to stay at the edge of a circle. I know how silly that sounds, but the farthest point away from the open area of the room. Why? Because when you stand there, she's going to do her swirly, I shall free you, and she's going to go kaboom in that place, and that's it. The ice basically disappears. Now, what happens if she's standing in her own storm? Just move the hell away. She's going to approach you anyways. And everything else is a repeat. Those are all of her mechanics. So she doesn't have difficult mechanics. Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that one. Sorry. When she grabs both of her wings, you will see it now. She will left side, and now both of her wings. No, right? Come on. There we go. Both of her wings in front of her. Get behind her because she does double attacks and close. See, double attacks and close. That's it. So that should cover all the mechanics. She just does them on repeat. Pay attention, listen to audio cues, learn them well, and that's basically it for Veritania. Not complicated at all. But I understand what could be wrong for players because the whole area is smaller now, but it never goes smaller than this. You will always have enough room to deal with stuff. So be careful just not to get any of these Conqueror maps with increased area of effect, because that does influence them, and you won't have as much fun time as you should. But that covers everything. They all drop their own Conqueror orbs. They don't have an Uber variant, but they can drop divination cards. You can see all of them. Redeemer's Exalted Orb, so Exalted Orbs of all kinds. However, I'm not sure if they cannot drop Awakener Orb. That can only be dropped from Cirrus, but they can drop Awakened Gems, which is why these maps are generally a bit more pricier than their Fragment counterparts. So if you want to do Cirrus, buy Fragments, don't buy maps, because Fragments are cheaper than maps themselves. You all basically pay for chance. But that should cover Conquerors of the Atlas, one of my favorite mechanics in Path of Exile, and it culminates with a boss that will be separately covered in PoE For Dummies Bosses Edition, which is coming out after all of these videos have run its course, at least these level 1 videos. But that's it for this one. I will link all of these links as per usual in the description down below, including my streaming links. I stream most days from 7-8 p.m. CT is now. I hate daylight savings. But if you have any comments, feel free to post them down below. If you like the video, please give it a like. Thank you so much. Sub if you don't mind as well. Have a wonderful time, and I will see you in the next PoE For Dummies video.